Hi there, thanks for downloading the Sustainable Food Service Toolbox Canvas and Checklists from Interfood. This really short video is just going to walk you through it so you know how to use the checklists. First, a little bit of context. We've done loads of projects with caterers around food sustainability, and we've seen good things, we've seen mistakes, we've seen best practices. So what we wanted to do was put this together into a checklist document to help people do things as well as they can. If you think back to years ago when in hospitals they introduced checklists for surgeons in operating theatres, initially the surgeons resisted this, but actually after using these checklists they reduced mistakes significantly. So we're trying to do a similar thing for sustainable food service. Now, food sustainability is pretty complex, so it can be pretty difficult to work out how you're going to do different initiatives within your business. For example, you could look at climate change, you could be looking at deforestation, you could be looking at soil degradation, sustainable seafood, or food waste. Not to mention antibiotics, animal welfare, health and nutrition, the list goes on. So it can be challenging. So what we're trying to do is help you break this down and get the right things in place at the right time to succeed. These are some of the challenges we've seen around identifying the right KPIs, making sure you've got the right skills in place, knowing what and when to measure, and communicating progress effectively and to whom. So let's dive into the toolbox now. So the first bit of the toolbox is just 6 sections around the context of sustainability for your business, around the opportunity for your business, how to set goals, how to implement, how to track progress and measure, and how to communicate success. So the first box helps you to identify your context around sustainability in your business, so you can checklist what you're doing, what your clients require, what your competitors are doing, and what would give you competitive advantage. And the rest of the checklists you do for each specific KPI you want to explore further. So on box 2, you would choose a KPI that you're going to look at further. And you need to see what skills have you got in-house, what skills do you need to enhance, and what tools are you going to need to measure your impact. And I would say if you can't fill your skill gaps and you can't identify the tools that you're going to need, there's no point going any further. So let's assume you can go further. You then need to start looking at goals. And the first thing you need to think about is your baseline. What baseline data do we need? So how much is representative and how consistent will the results be? And in my experience, you've got to expect variation between sectors and sites. So you're going to have to run pilot projects and you need to think through which sites you use for your pilots. Because the key influences are going to be around your client profile, your food concept, your food cost budgets, your kitchen team skills. So choosing a pilot site is really important. And then it helps you to look at what scale of change is going to be reasonable. So you need to test it in a pilot and you need a post-pilot review to see really what targets can you set as a business. So box 4 is about implementing. So you can checklist what exactly you're going to be measuring. And really importantly, do you have a communication plan? It's one of the things I see people miss time and time again, is the right communication internally to management and to on-site, and externally to clients and on-site. And then you checklist where you're going to be increasing training, where you're going to be outsourcing skills, and that you've got the appropriate tools in place. You then get to measurement and tracking for the KPI. So it could be carbon footprint, for example. So you checklist which sites you're going to be doing this in, how often you're going to be measuring and what you're going to be measuring, and what other metrics are important. And I would argue you should be looking at food costs, gross profit, staff engagement and guest satisfaction alongside your sustainability metrics. Because if you're pressing the right buttons on sustainability and it's positively affecting your GP and your staff are engaged and your guests are happy, then you're nailing it. What you end up with if you're running this as a pilot is the ability to benchmark results, to identify reusable best practices, identify areas for improvement, and identify the potential for scaling up across the business. What you then need to be doing is communicating it properly. Now, earlier in this toolbox, you checklist that you've got a communication plan for the right places. This is when you add some levels of detail to that around success against your goals, best practices, areas for improvement, and revised goals. So all these things tie in together. You need to get your skills in place, so the right staff have got the right skills. You need the right tools in place, and you might be outsourcing some of that, you might be doing some of that in-house, and you need communication plans so that when you're measuring and the sites you're measuring at know what's going on, and you know how you're going to communicate that outside. So what this allows you to do really is to map which KPIs to focus on, what skills you need to build on, what tools you will need, that you do need to run a pilot, that you need a communication plan, what you will measure and when, and what results you will communicate. It makes it easier. It means you don't miss things, stops you making common mistakes. Hope it's useful. Finally, with Interfood, we cover off a lot of these angles for you. So if you're interested in what we can do for you, give us a call. You can find us at interfood.no. We do free 30-minute introductions to help you understand your sustainability context, and we run successful pilot projects for measuring sustainability, wider implementations across multiple sites and across the business, tracking progress through our reporting systems, and training opportunities for chefs, front of house and business development teams through our online learning platform.